Week one, Colorado State. This is Texas football podcast. We're doing a preview of week one versus Colorado State. Um, Brett, what are you looking forward to most week one?
Well, probably the thing I'm looking most forward to is just watching Texas football again. It just seems like the off season drags on for such a long period of time. You get a little hint of it, a little taste of it, some flavor during the spring game. You get excited because you hear some news, but then you have to wait another 3 or 4, 5 months before you actually get to see it on the field. And this is what all the preseason hype's for is like it all starts on Saturday. And so we get to watch our favorite team play, and we hope they do as they're expected or exceed that expectation. But that's probably what I'm the most excited for is just be able to watch them on the field again. What about you?
Yeah, I'm excited. Get to see some big tackles, some big hits, some big plays. Just there's nothing better than a Saturday watching college football all day. So looking forward to that. It's a little different with this 2:30 kick than what we're used to. I think that Big 12 11 o'clock slot, but I like the 2:30. I think there's some good games on before that, but 2:30
Right.
in Austin, it's gonna be hot. Um, might be that might work to our advantage. We didn't talk about that in our preview, but I don't know if these Colorado State players are used to this kind of heat. I know it does get warm in Colorado, I guess if you're not in the mountains, but I don't know, it's been pretty humid the last couple weeks in Texas. So maybe that plays to our advantage.
Think last year I went to the Rice game last year, which was Labor Day weekend, and it was number one. I took my 4-year old son, and everyone was standing up the entire game, and so I had, in order for him to be able to see the game, I had to be holding him. It was that. Plus, it was like 100 and something degrees out, and they said the field turf was the temperature when they scanned it was like 140 degrees or something crazy like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's like being in a sauna.
Well, it's like a sun in here.
It's like a sauna in here.
Oh. All right. Well, what do you want to see from the Longhorns in this first game?
Yeah, so I think it's easy, like when you play one of like these warm-up games, these cupcakes to start the season, it's easy to focus on the scoreboard and say, hey, I want to see the Longhorns win by, 6 touchdowns or something like that. You want to see your team score 40, 50, 70 points, something like that, and hold the opposing team to less than, a couple of touchdowns. And that is the expectation for the Horns in this game for sure. I have them scoring somewhere in the 50-point range. But the things that I want to see specifically from our team that will be somewhat measurements for success for us. Number one is like a quick start from Quinn. In the games where we have struggled as a team, I think back to like the OU game last year. It's like Quinn kind of gets off to these sluggish starts and then finishes strong. Based on all the offseason notes, how fall camp went, apparently he's, way better than he was last year. He's way more mature. He's ready to go. He's focused. He's prepared. So I want to see him get off to a hot start. And I'm, not necessarily looking for that 50-yard dime into Isaiah Bond's hands to score that quick touchdown. I mean, I want to see him work the system. I want to see him work the RPO game. I want him to see him get the ball out quick and crisp and be accurate with his throws. I want him to control the offense for the first several drives of the game. Then hopefully after that we don't have to watch him very much anymore. So
Yeah.
I want to see that. I want to see our starters out of the game sometime in the early third quarter. We're already short on depth and running backs. So I want to see those guys. I want to see those guys rotate heavily. And then after that, I mean, I just want to see domination in the trenches. I want to see our third year offensive line, third year from the best recruited offensive line class ever. I want to see them dominate Colorado State's defensive line, and I want to see our defensive line conjure up some major pressure on their quarterback anytime he drops back more than a couple of steps in the pocket.
Yeah. We're going to overlap a little bit with, what we want to see, but for me, they got to pass the eye test. This is a team we are clearly better than on paper, and we need to show it on the field. We need to win the line of scrimmage on both sides. And I think that's going to lead well into next week's game against Michigan. We got to win the line of
Mm.
scrimmage. Um, all these SEC games coming up as well. We got to win the line of scrimmage on both sides. So on offense, we need a clean pocket for Quinn. We need to establish the run game. I don't care who's running the ball. You can put anybody that was a high school running back there, and they should be able to get positive yards every time behind this offensive line.
I'm gonna
Um,
throw my pads on.
yeah, let's go. Um, uh, but on defense, I think we need to obviously do the opposite. We need to stop the run. We need to not let them get ahead of the chains on first down. Set up third and long, and get after the passer. We don't have to put up a bunch of sacks, the numbers, but affect the throw. Get near him, make him get antsy. Um, I think the starting quarterback for Colorado State's from Aledo, so he's played Texas high school football against some top talent. So now, not that he's played against
Mm.
this level of talent, but he's from the state of Texas, so he's used to big 5A high school football. So we got to get to him, get pressure to him, make him get happy feet, affect throws, and then on offense, again, I think control the line of scrimmage, run the ball, be patient. Quinn needs to be patient this game, especially going into next week with Michigan. Again, being patient is going to be the key. Um, I want to see no turnovers on offense, and I want to see no penalties. We don't need any penalties on either side of the ball. I think that's going to show how mature our team is if we can manage to be patient, control our emotions, not have any stupid penalties or unforced errors that give the opponent some advantage in field position. So those are things that I'm looking for. Um, as far as starting lineup goes, or key players to
Well,
watch.
I want to back up on one thing.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
looking up this Colorado State quarterback, and yeah, he went to Aledo. So it means he probably competed against a lot of the guys that are on our team. Guys like Anthony Hill that played at Denton Ryan, and probably even Quinn when Quinn was at South Lake Carroll. So he's up for the competition. But I also I was trying to remember if Colorado State played any big games last year. And you remember when Colorado was on the hype train and like ESPN wouldn't get off of them at the beginning of last year? They were like a top 25 team just because they
Yeah,
beat a really bad TCU team.
I remember that.
And so Colorado and Colorado State played in like the second or third week of the season last year, and it went to double overtime, and Colorado ended up pulling off the victory. But this quarterback, I'm pretty sure it's the same quarterback, this quarterback threw for like 370 yards on Colorado in Boulder. So I think he is kind of a gunslinger, like you said, but he
Yeah.
also had three interceptions. He had three touchdowns and three interceptions. So I think if you force the issue on him and you put him in pressure situations and make him just try to force it in there, he's going to give you opportunities to turn the ball over, which would be nice. But it also tells me that if you give him space and you give him time, he's crisp with his passes and he can beat you.
Yeah, Colorado's defense was pretty bad last year.
Yeah.
But they were fun to watch. They were exciting. But yeah, I'm expecting us to, you know, do a lot better than Colorado did against them.
Yeah, he better
Yeah.
not. If he has 370 yards,
Listen, I can deal with the yardage, and a lot of it's going to
I,
come on dink and dunk passes late in the game. Um, I can deal with that. Yeah, he's got 300 yards on, 50 passes, right? Bunch of dink and dunks late in the game. And then, but we don't give up any points. Once they get in the red zone or near the red zone, um, we shut them down. So
yeah.
um, I can live with the bend but don't break defense. But again, Colorado State, I'm getting hungry. Colorado State, yeah, we should crush this team. Um, like you said, starters should be out by the third quarter. Um, that's the Texas team we need to have again.
Yeah, that was always a fun one to watch. Yeah, but so starting lineup, they Texas kind of released their depth chart, or did release their depth chart earlier. I think it was either this week or last week. There wasn't really any surprises. I'm still baffled that somehow Texas can always find a walk-on that's better than a walk-on safety that's better than all of the other scholarship players that we have, the safety
Yeah,
position. Because
Taft.
Michael Taft is
Yeah.
still a starter, and apparently he's really good. I'm not trying to discredit the guy, but like, how do you know?
I
Yeah,
think
it just reminds me of Blake Gideon. I
he
mean, not
and
Blake Gideon, the kid from probably like 4 or 5 years ago. Can't remember his name, but he was also a walk-on safety, and he started a bunch of games for us. And he was slow and he couldn't keep up, but apparently Michael's pretty good. So I'm not trying to discredit him, but that safety room is deep now. I mean, we've got that freshman, yeah, I guess he's a sophomore now. Um, Derek Williams is on the team. He's apparently very good. We got Andrew McCubba from Clemson, formerly from Austin High. And he's in the fold now, and still Michael Taft is the one that's starting in that. So that's the only slight surprise I had on the
yeah,
defense.
he also got, I think, a Lamborghini NIL deal out there, a Lamborghini of Austin.
Taft did?
I saw a picture of him and Isaiah Bond next to some Lamborghinis.
That's
So
crazy.
um he made some plays last year. So
Oh, he's good. He's good. I'm not
he
trying to
can play.
discredit the guy.
Yeah, now I'm really trying to think who that safety was a few years ago.
You know who I'm talking about?
Um, yeah, I know who you're talking about,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah, that is interesting. Um,
you did think on the wide receiver side, I thought one thing that was super interesting was the starting lineup on the wide receivers is going to be Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, and DeAndre Moore. So DeAndre Moore apparently is slotted for the slot, no pun intended. But he is in the starting lineup, which I think is a surprise. I always expected Jonte Cook to be a starter, maybe over Matthew Golden. Um, on
yeah,
that side of the football, and then DeAndre Moore starting the slot was pretty surprising. I do expect him to have a huge game. Everything I've read about Colorado State is they have some real heavy linebackers that are good run stuffers, but are just slow, slow, slow. Kind of like when we had Anthony Wheeler as our linebacker, and just cannot. If we get that slot in a good one-on-one situation with one of those linebackers, it's over.
I think that's where the scheme of Sark is going to come. If we get those matchups against those linebackers with any of our skill position, if they're
Jaden
playing,
Blue
yeah, if
coming out
they're
of the
playing
backfield.
man, yeah, if they're playing man coverage, like should be our first read anyway, is one of those short routes that the
Yep.
linebackers are covering. Um, yeah, that should be a win every single time. Um,
Um,
get to the next level. So yeah, I didn't know that about Moore. I hadn't seen that yet. Makes me
yeah, apparently he
wonder.
had a really good offseason.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where Silas Bolden gets on the field then. Um, who does he? How do they get him and him involved? Because he was pretty decent at Oregon State a year ago. Um, but we've got so much depth at wide receiver.
I think
It's
he'll
it's a
play
good
in the
problem to
backup
have.
position behind DeAndre Moore, so he'll also play in that slot.
Yeah, I think it's important for conference play as well as having depth. So like I kind of expect to see maybe second series, maybe a whole new set of receivers coming in, um, or at least two new guys. We've got so much depth and guys to get on the field. I don't know. We'll see what Sark has in play. Who do you think is gonna take off at running back and kind of win the starting job for week two? Is Jaden Blue starting week one?
Yeah, Jaden
So
Blue's going to be starting running back this week. I think he will be the starting running back for the entire season, and and hopefully he doesn't get hurt.
yeah,
Trey Wisner will be your backup, and then behind him will be the freshman Jarrett Gibson, who apparently Jarrett Gibson's had a really good fall um, fall camp, and he looks good. He looks the part. I think he had some ball control issues at the beginning of camp, which were addressed. So he looks good. And then, of course, we got that SMU transfer who just came in like 3 days ago. They're running back. So we've got him now. I think his name's Milton or something like that.
did you watch that
Uh,
SMU game the other day?
I did not.
Yeah, they were losing, came back and won.
Oh,
It's a pretty
really?
fun game.
Hmm. Hmm. But yeah, so running back, I think it'll be. I mean, Jaden Blue needs to dominate. Like to see. I'd like to see him get a few carries, but kind of change it out with Trey Wisner. Don't let him get overworked. And then it would be nice to see in the second half Jarrett Gibson and this new guy from SMU get majority of the carries and just see what these guys can do if push comes to shove and we need them to actually take on some real carries later on in the season.
Yeah. I think it's a good game for these running backs to get comfortable. Um, Also an easier test on third down pass protection if it comes to it. Hopefully we don't have a bunch of third and longs where we're worried about the running back um,
Mm,
pass blocking. But I think, you know, I think that's a key place to look.
yeah,
Because when we play Georgia late in the season, they get real creative with how they bring pressure and having a good running back, even if he's just chipping and then getting out to the flats, like doing that correctly is a big part of the passing game. So, hopefully these young guys will pick that up. So that'll be
well,
one thing to
maybe
watch.
yeah, that'll be something to watch for sure. Because I've never thought of Jaden Blue as a pass protecting running back, and all the reports from earlier this offseason was CJ Baxter was really good at pass pro.
Yeah, I
So,
think
and Trey Wisner, I mean, he's a smaller guy, but apparently he's not afraid to put a hit on somebody either. So maybe he comes along with pass pro. But that's a really good point. I'll make sure I will look for that during the game, is how well our running backs are asked, how well they block when they're asked to block.
yeah, and again, the game script might not call for keeping the running back in the block. Um, I guess there could be instances they want to, if maybe they want to take a deep shot. You have play action, running back just stays in there, and just find somebody to block, or you know, don't just stand there and watch a quarterback get sacked.
Right,
We don't need that to happen.
right.
So yeah, I'm interested to see how the running backs play. Like I said earlier, I think we're playing a team we should be better than. We should be able to run the ball with any of these running backs that we have. Um, we recruit running back really well. Running back in the state of Texas, although I don't think Baxter's from Texas, but I mean, we've got all the running backs in the world from the state of Texas to pick from. So should be good to go there. Any other key players or matchups you're looking forward to?
Overall, like we've been talking about this whole time, we should dominate in every phase of the game. One interesting matchup to me is going to be so Jahdae Barron is our starting, he's going to be our starting boundary cornerback.
Yeah,
And so he'll be matched up most likely with their best, Colorado State's best wide receiver. I think his name's Torrey Horton. The guy, he's an animal. I think he's caught for over 1,000 yards in the past 2 seasons. So he's a legit threat. And Jahdae Barron has, as far as I can remember, he has not played traditional corner. So he's going to be asked to man up a lot in times where he was typically not manning up with a wideout. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys uh, get through the game. I want to see Jahdae Barron be able to shut him down, be able to compete with him. Um, I don't think you can limit a guy like Horton to 0 yards or zero catches, but I do want to watch that matchup to see how Jahdae will potentially play some of the more talented wide receivers as we get into the Michigan game, into some of the SEC games, and we further along in the season. It'll be a good eye test for that.
back real
Yeah,
quick, back to that Colorado State game last year. Horton had 16 catches, 133 yards, a touchdown, and he completed a 30-yard touchdown pass. So little
trick play.
might be part of the gimmick play as well. So yeah, I think he's going to get 20 targets. Hopefully not 16 for 133, but I could
Yeah,
deal with. I could deal with 16 for 80. Just he's gonna get catches, short hitch routes. I mean, take away the deep ball, take away the big play, take away any
He likes the
hope.
ball over the middle. So when we go into zone two, it's going to be a lot of
Well,
pickups.
Anthony Hill's in the middle, and he
Yeah,
destroys quarterbacks in the zone.
yeah, yeah. So we'll definitely have to watch that. Um, yeah, I want to see, our pass rush over the past few years has been missing. We don't have that thunderous Michigan pass rush. So I want to see everyone's been talking about how good our pass rush is this offseason. We brought in Trey Moore from UTSA. We've got Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton as super seniors that are not the best stoppers, but are very talented in rushing the quarterback. Got them. We've got Barron Sorrell. We've got Ethan Burke. We've got Colton Vasek, who are all upperclassmen. I want to see our pass rush get home without having to stunt and to blitz. I want to see these guys one on one with a what's supposed to be a pretty good offensive line for Colorado State. I want to see them get home to that quarterback. I don't want to see that quarterback have all the time in the world in the pocket. I want to see a little bit of pressure on there. A few sacks would be nice. Pressure's acceptable because, like we said earlier, pressure on this quarterback apparently leads to him throwing some interceptions, throwing some susceptible passes.
Yeah, I think disguising the blitz is the easiest thing to do. And going back to Georgia, I think when I watch them on tape, I think that's one thing they do well. And then sometimes they trick you with the disguise, and they just you know the guys on the line come or they all come. Like they're showing everybody coming, and then everybody comes, and you can just eat it. So there's a time and place for those kind of blitzes, but yeah, I think when in the one-on-one matchups, our our D line versus their O line is going to be a big part of the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
Um, all right, I think brings us to score predictions. Last time I checked, I think it opened at 32 and a half. Has there been any change on that line?
No, I think that's what I heard this morning as well.
So I'm looking for 48 to 13. A lot of running the ball from both teams, I think. Um, I think we're going to get hopefully our starters out of the fourth quarter. So a little less points rather than if we're, on the gas the whole game. We're still on the gas with our backup, but the sense of urgency is just not always the same. So I got 48-13, a couple field goals from each team, but I think we'll have plenty of touchdowns on offense. I think again we need to get out to a quick start. Um, we need to get rid of all hope and prayer for Colorado State on the upset. But I feel confident we're covering the spread. Not by much, but I think we should cover. Um, and get some extra guys playing time and the starters some rest in the fourth quarter as we will then look forward to playing at Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah. Very similar score, 52-17 Horns. Not going to be close. We're going to get out. We're going to get off to a fast start. It's going to be 7-0 very quickly. I think we're going to score 28 points in the first half, and we're going to score um, significant amount of points in the second half. And the thing I'm excited to see too is when we get to the third quarter and we start resting starters, Quinn comes out, Arch goes in. The first line of wide receivers is all out, and the second line is in. The offensive line comes out, but then we put in a bunch of 315-pound behemoths in there as their backups, and they're going to continue to maul guys. So
Yeah.
in the past, where we've seen, hey, very strong drop off from our starters to our second string, I'm not expecting that. I expect the all gas, no brakes mantra to last throughout the entire game, no matter who's in there. Maybe if we start getting a bunch of walk-ons in there or something, maybe it slows down a little bit. But we're going to be leaning on the gas. We're going to be scoring the whole time. We're going to be driving. I want to see us maintain the ball for 75% of the second half as well as the first.
I like it.
You have pick one wide receiver to have 100 yards. Who would it be?
Well, I'm gonna pick Bond. I think
Bond?
I don't think Bond has the most catches, but I think he has three catches and he averages 30 yards, 35 a catch, gets just over 100 with,
Yeah.
a touchdown or two. But again, I don't want to see them force that, but I want to see it, maybe a broken play or we just have, corner route, post route, catch the defense in the right um, coverage, and we just hit him, catches it, runs it in. So hoping to see that. But I think whoever's in the slot, so more like it sounds. I think he's gonna have the most catches, but
Mm.
I don't know that he gets over 100. I like the games where Quinn spreads the ball around. Just throw it to the open guy,
Like
and
the
they're gonna make
Alabama game.
yeah, throw it to the open guy. They're gonna make plays. We move the ball down the field and score because it doesn't have to look pretty. It's just like golf, just fairways and greens get you a low score. Like you don't have to hit it 400 yards every time. It's fun when you do, but most of the time, you're gonna miss the fairway and be in a worse scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be a coming out party for DeAndre Moore. I do think he'll be the 100-yard guy. I think Jaden Blue's going to run for 75 yards on like 10 carries or less. I think as far as other fun stats go, I'm going to say that Trey Moore, he's used to this level of competition playing from UTSA. He's going to have 2 sacks by himself. Interception. Jahdae Barron's going to jump in front of Torrey Horton for an interception after he baits Colorado State's quarterback into a bad throw, and then maybe there's a little bit of pressure there. So those are my predictions. Those are my fun stat predictions. We'll see if any of them come true. What about special teams touchdown? Any special teams touchdowns this weekend?
Um, if I were to guess, I would say maybe a punt return touchdown.
Mm,
Um, I'd like to see a
I was
blocked
bold.
punt. I'd like to see a blocked punt, but
Fun.
and just get the guy in space. Let him, as long as we block the gunners, let him have the ability to catch the ball and at least make some moves. So
Yeah,
I think it just depends on those gunners really. Like, do they make them fair catch it, or do we do a good job getting those guys to the boundary away from the catch? So
yeah,
that'd be fun. I think those were the days I remember, Texas football being at its finest when we were blocking punts for, returning punts for touchdowns, blocking field goals even and running them back. So I don't know. I don't see it happening. It'd be great. If I had to pick one though, I'd do punt return touchdown.
return touchdown. So I was bold, getting his name out there. Okay. Man, I'm so excited for this game. So excited for Texas football. I'm sure I'll be as anxious as ever, and I'll have all these doubts creep in the last 24 hours before the game, as I always do. But like I said last week, I'm optimistic about this season, and we're going to get off to a real hot start this weekend.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who that DB was we were talking about, but we'll have to figure it out next week. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, good stuff. Looking forward to the game. Um, and we'll chat later.
All right.